On all other purchases. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The Early Line with Mario and Musso. Mario and Musso have your early line on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I mean, we're just here to have fun and win and have fun by winning.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, here's Mario Jerez and Matt Musso.
And a good Friday afternoon. Welcome in. Matt Musso alongside Mario Jerez. We have your early line, Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp on the audio and video boards. Glad you're here along for the ride as well with us. Daily Spread coming up in a few minutes. Full slate of Major League Baseball to cut through here. Also, Button on SEC Football Media Days. We didn't get a chance to really dive too deep into Tennessee and their win total yesterday. Kind of just ran out of time. So we'll do that a little bit today, and then obviously break down the projected order of finish that the media is released earlier this morning. Not really a lot of surprises, but still, worth talking about a little bit later on in the show. How are you, Mario?
Definitely worth discussing. Doing well, Musso. Shout out to Javi Baez for coming through for me last night. 3 total bases for the Tigers, 3 hits for Javi. Was excited about that. Excited for the weekend. Excited for the show, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. One more here in the home stretch of the week. What's been a very busy week here at Guarantee Media. And it is always is the busiest week of the summer, at least here at 104.5 ESPN, is SEC Football Media Days.
But always fun to me. I know some people say it's pointless. There's a lot of coach speak, but it's the unofficial start of the season, and there's a lot of teams with high expectations. There are some teams that are probably going to surprise some people. And this time next year, I'm sure we'll remember everything that everybody said and whether or not they lived up to it. So I, for one, really enjoy SEC Media Days.
That's the thing. It serves so much as a benchmark these days, right? I mean, boom, you've hit SEC Media Days. You got 13 days until LSU opens camp. 13 days from today, they open fall camp. So it'll be here before you know it. Right now, let's get started with our Daily Spread presented by Suspense Games.
Daily. Our Daily Spread. What are Mario and Musso watching tonight?
I'm talking about big money. Real big money.
This is our Daily Spread.
All right, let's start with a late one on the West Coast. This one goes at a 9:10 Central Time. That's the first pitch between the Astros and the Mariners. Looking at the total in this game, liking over 8.5. It's coming back at even money right now. You got Jose Urquidy on the mound for on the mound for the Astros. Marco Gonzalez on the mound for the Red Hot M's, who are looking for number 15 in a row is Seattle. And look, they've had Urquidy's number this season in 3 starts. He has an ERA north of 10, 10.38 to be exact. He's allowed 27 hits in 13 innings pitched. It should stand to reason that the M's will continue to hit and score tonight. And on the road, just in general, even separate from facing the Mariners, his ERA is 5.20, so has not fared too well away from Minute Maid Park. We know the Astros lineup is very, very good. We know all about them, and the return of Yordan Alvarez last night, who, by the way, hit a home run on his first swing back, becomes even more potent with that addition. Marco Gonzalez, he has faced the Astros 3 times this year as well, and he's actually held them in check, but his last 3 outings overall before the break were rough. 27 hits, given up in 18 2/3 innings, 10 runs, 3 walks, and only 6 strikeouts. Can he bounce back after a long layoff? I tend to favor Houston's bats. I like the over here at a great price.
I am looking at under 4.5 strikeouts for the Cubs. Justin Steele tonight is my first play here in the Daily Spread. Good price here, Musso, at plus 120 odds. And speaking of getting hit hard before the break, that definitely happened to Justin Steele against the Orioles. He's trying to bounce back against the Phillies, but Philadelphia has been pretty decent with their lineup, even without Bryce Harper. And going back to Steele's last outing, he lasted just 85 pitches in that game against Baltimore, and that was the 9th time in his last 17 starts that he's gone under 86 pitches. Also, going into today, Steele sits in the bottom 25% in whiff percentage, and he's in the bottom 12% when it comes to chase rate. Meanwhile, the Phillies on the other side, they're a top 10 team when it comes to average versus left-handed pitching. Like to look at that. That's always really interesting. And Philadelphia is in the league's top half in strikeout percentage against lefties. Much better against left-handed pitchers. Justin Steele is one. And Citizens Bank Park apparently is a really good place for hitters. So I like the price, like the play, under 4.5 strikeouts for the Cubs, Justin Steele tonight.
Justin Steele can strike out however many he wants or however few he wants as long as he does not allow a run in the first inning. That's where we're heading next. A little parlay action for you here. No runs first inning. Parlay comes out to plus 217, and it starts Cubs at Phillies, 6:05 Central, first pitch. Minus $1.05 just individually on this game. Interesting price when you dive a little deeper into it. So Mario was just kind of talking to you about Justin Steele. He will face off against Kyle Gibson. We like backing Gibson a lot. He has an NRFI record of 15-3 on the season and has walked just 3 in 68 batters faced, a solid batting average against as well. And the Cubs, they've struggled scoring runs all year long. I mean, we remember their 40-plus inning scoreless drought earlier in the year. How about in their last 10 games before the break? They posted a first inning run just twice. Justin Steele, their starter, solid first inning arm, 14-3 on the year in the first inning. Just 4 walks in 71 batters faced. The majority of the Phillies lineup, they have not seen Steele yet, so a feeling out period might be in order. It's a solid NRFI arm to boot. We like that. Let's take it at a short price. The second leg of this, Padres visit the Metropolitans. Minus $1.60 is your no-run first inning price on this one. This is a 6:10 Central Time. Yu Darvish for San Diego, Max Scherzer for the Mets. Darvish, a respectable 12-5, no runs first inning on the season. His numbers don't reflect success, but his record does. He struggled giving up big first innings. So in 3 of his 5 losses, when it comes to the first inning only, have seen multiple runs scored. So that skews his numbers a little bit. Still a solid first inning arm. Max Scherzer is just a king when it comes to this. 10-1 so far in the first inning. Has looked great in his first 2 starts since coming back from injury. 39 first inning hitters faced. Has managed just a 0.56 average off of Mad Max. He's kept the walk total low as well. We've liked fading the Padres lineup, so let's do it again. As for the Mets, just twice in their last 10 have they scored a first inning run. So we ride. There it is. Mets, Padres, no runs first inning. Cubs, Phillies, no runs first inning. Parlay them together. Come out about plus 217.
Ooh, we like it. Good price there. For my final play, I am going under 7 runs in LA Angels at Atlanta Braves tonight. First pitch is at 6:20 from the A. Plus 100 price here. I like it, and I know that this is a low total on the surface, especially for a lineup like the Braves. Very potent, right? But the Angels have Shohei Ohtani pitching tonight, and that's a really good thing for this bet because the reigning MVP has been a beast again in 2022. Across 87 innings, Ohtani has a 2.38 ERA, and he's been even better recently. In his last 6 starts, he is pitching to a ridiculous .045 ERA, and in his last 39.2 innings of work, 2 earned runs given up, he struck out 58 batters. Shohei Ohtani, not bad at baseball, Musa.
Not bad at all. He's actually incredible, and he does not get enough respect or enough attention for what he's actually doing in the game.
It's unbelievable. Even just reading the numbers, like, it's nuts. And he, coming off a few days of rest, should have plenty in the tank. I know the Braves lineup is really good, but I'm putting my money on Shohei to keep them in check. And on the other side, Shohei not getting very much help from the rest of the bats for Los Angeles because nobody in Major League Baseball has hit the ball worse in the last month than the Angels. They enter Friday ranking dead last in the majors in average, .183, and as a team, LA has struck out in 32.7% of its plate appearances since July 1st. That's almost 3 out of every 10 at-bats they're striking out. And Mike Trout is on the injured list. For all those reasons, I know that's kind of a low number, but I like the price. Plus 100 odds for under 7 runs in Angels at Braves tonight.
And look, I'll tell you this too. So the Braves are a heavy favorite in that game with Charlie Morton going on the mound. And Charlie Morton has not been nearly the pitcher that he kind of was before. I mean, I'm looking at the Braves minus $1.45. You're getting plus 125 on Shohei Ohtani. That's not a bad money line play. The Angels have won his last 6 starts. Like, as bad as the Angels have been, their best chance to win is every single time Shohei takes the mound. Moneyline sprinkle on the Angels at plus 125 tonight behind Showtime Ohtani might not be a bad play either.
Yeah, he's the definition of the exception and not the rule. Definitely take the Angels on that price, in my opinion.
For sure. That's our daily spread. It's brought to you every single day by Suspense Games. Get over to suspenseevents.com. Let them hook you up, man. It's live traveling trivia game show. You can upgrade your game night, upgrade a company team building event. If you're a restaurant owner, you need to spice up a trivia night in your spot. Get some more people through the doors. Suspenseevents.com. It's the only place, cannot stress that enough, that you need to visit. They can tailor themed trivia night games to any specific category your heart desires. It's great. They have great charisma. It's an all-around fun experience. You'll never have a bad time with Suspense Games.
That's right. Check them out at the Pub Olympics at the Smiling Dog on South Sherwood Forest this Monday, every Monday at 8 p.m. As always, shout out to our guys Spencer and Tyler Hunt. They are your hosts, and they've got lights, podiums, confetti, just like you're on TV. So whether you're looking for a really competitive game night, some unique team building, or you just want to take your party to a whole new level, Suspense Games is ready to bring a live game show experience right to you. So check out their website at suspenseevents.com and upgrade your game night tonight with Suspense Games.
Grab our first break of this Friday edition of Early Line. Come back on the other side. Start to finally put a button on SEC football media days. We'll dive a little deeper into Tennessee since we kind of missed them yesterday. Go through their win total and what to expect from the Vols. That is next on the other side. Early Line, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Mario and Musso, the early line. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And this year, 2022, it's time to finally treat yourself. Bring your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service. You want the latest and greatest marine technology? You want to go to the place that has not one, but two NMEA-certified techs. Family-owned and operated by the Sherman family for 30 years, front-to-back is the answer in Baton Rouge for all of your custom boat needs. So head to fronttobackboatservice.com or find them on Facebook, Front to Back Boat Service.
Visit Acura of Baton Rouge for attractive offers on the MDX.
My own people call me an Uncle Tom. I play music. Been wined and dined by royalty. Trying to bring people together. All people. But regardless of all that kind of stuff, I'm still Louis Armstrong.
Here's the man you're waiting for, the king of jazz, Louis Satchmo Armstrong.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Sandegriff, join us for the next edition of Jimmy Ott's Game Time from Spoken Hub on Government Street. Troy Macker from Bet Rivers and Jimmy Ott from California. Jimmy Ott's Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers, 6 p.m. weeknights on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Early Line with Mario and Musso, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Well, Musso, the SEC football media days are officially over. Before you know it, we'll be into the season. And like I said in the last segment, I really enjoyed SEC football media days this year. And an observation that I have that I told you in the hallway, I believe it was yesterday, that it seems to be a lot more parity in the SEC right now, at least compared to recent years. Like, I know Alabama, Georgia are clearly the class of each division, but Arkansas has gotten to be decent. South Carolina's feeling pretty good about themselves. We're about to talk about Tennessee here. You know, eventually LSU will get back into the fold, but I see a lot more parity compared to recent years, and I still think it's going to be Alabama. I still think it's going to be Georgia, but I think we're going to have some really good football games across the conference this year, and I am pumped for the season.
Tennessee is a trendy upset pick this year, it feels like. And you know what, even more so to that is, it feels like just going through this week and listening to multiple interviews, whether it be on this radio station or whether it be nationally on like SEC Now or whatnot, a lot of people, or even just perusing Twitter, have October 8th in Tiger Stadium circled when Tennessee comes to town as potentially one of the best games of the entire SEC schedule. You have two teams who could potentially have a lot to play for still at that point in the season, and you won't have any shortage of talent on the field. Hendon Hooker at quarterback. The thing with Tennessee, they're going to score on everybody that they play, and they're going to score a lot on everybody that they play. The problem is they have to be better on defense than they were last year, because Tennessee lost a game 41-34 to Pitt. Okay, the 34 points should have been enough for you in that game. You give up 38 to Florida, 24 to Missouri. Now, you scored 62. You even give up 20 to South Carolina. That was not a world-beater offense that South Carolina had last year. You put up 24 against Bama, but you gave up 52. You put up 42 against Kentucky, but you gave up 45. You gave up 41 to Georgia. You gave up 21 to Vandy. You lost your bowl game 48-45 in overtime. Like, you get the picture. That same thing can happen to Tennessee this year. In order for them to take the next step, they've got to improve defense. And it's kind of similar to what we talked about with Ole Miss for so long, even what we talked about with the New Orleans Saints for so long. If you want to take an NFL comp, just be average.
Just be good enough.
Just be good enough.
Yes.
And with the offense you have, I mean, that's what Josh Heupel deserves a hell of a lot of credit for, is year one, getting that offense installed and humming like he had it towards the end of the regular season. Keep that going early. Just be good enough defensively. And Tennessee can make some noise. I'm not saying they're going to go out there and win the SEC East, but, I mean, they could improve from their projected third-place finish. Like, that's a team that could finish second in the East.
And that's probably all Volunteer fans want to see. I mean, they definitely overachieved last year in Heupel's first year. They only had 69 scholarship players going into the season. They lost a bunch of people, a bunch of starters into the transfer portal, and they had a pretty tough schedule last year too, at least going into the season, because they had to face 9 teams that made a bowl game in the year before, and they had to face both national championship game participants from the prior year. And offensively, Heupel did his thing. He definitely put his stamp on that team, on that program already, because Tennessee last year set a school record for points. They also ran the ball really well. You mentioned Hooker, and he definitely comes in as like a dark horse Heisman candidate in a best case scenario, but he's also a really good runner, and they also have a really potent rushing attack. Put up 217.8 rushing yards per game last season, and they returned 3 out of 5 starting offensive linemen. But defensively, like you said, I think they will improve because they have to, but the question is how much better? Will it be enough to contend for the SEC East title? Will it be enough to at least hit the win total of 7.5? I think that's reasonable. I think they're going to be a lot better. I mean, they were embarrassingly bad last year. 42% of third down conversions the Tennessee gave up. That was 103rd in the country. And kind of reading the preview magazines and season previews for Tennessee coming into the year, their defense is actually really similar to what it was last year. They weren't very aggressive in the transfer portal, but they seem to think running it back will make them a little bit better. And I think their defense can be at least good enough to get them a couple more wins. I mean, 7-5 last year, just on the surface, they only need to improve by one game to hit their win total. And based on it being Heupel's second year, based on that explosive offense and the fact that the defense has to improve, I think they can get at least one more win.
Hendon Hooker right now plus is 40-1 to win the Heisman Trophy. So, yeah, falls definitely into that dark horse category. You mentioned the third down conversions that they allowed, and that is just that's a gaudy number, 42%. Got to get better pressuring the passer in order to do that, and I know that's a focus for Tennessee this year. They did return some on the defensive line that should help them another year in the system, get better at that. But the other thing they have to do is fix up the secondary. I mean, teams were just able to throw the ball at will on Tennessee last year. I mean, you think back to that game against Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett just had a field day against the Volunteer defense. Bryce Young had a field day against the Volunteer defense. What was Purdue's strength? Throwing the football. They had a field day against that Volunteers defense.
Florida even tore them up.
Florida, exactly. So
Florida scored 40+ on them.
You have to fix that secondary, and it might be a little bit more challenging of a task than you would think, considering even with you getting torched, your two best defensive backs are now gone. So you returning starters there, but it's not your two best, and the ones that you do return, they have to take that next step. Looking at the win total, I'm with you. The juice is getting kind of heavy on it, though, minus $1.60.
Yeah, don't love that.
That's still not a terrible price, but they went 7-5 last year. You need one more, and Tennessee just very much feels like they're going to take a next step this year. Is it going to be enough to really wow and turn heads? I don't know, but is it enough to win one more game? Sure, maybe even a game that they weren't supposed to win. Yeah, I see a lot of toss-ups on this schedule when it comes to Tennessee, right? I mean, the game at LSU, you could consider that a toss-up. The game at home versus Florida and Neyland, I'd say toss-up. At Pittsburgh, well, I mean, I know they have a transfer from
quarterback.
Yes. Oh, I can't think of his name. He was USC transfer.
Slovis.
Slovis. Yes.
Keaton.
Yes.
Keaton.
To replace Kenny Pickett, but how does that flow simply? So I mean, it's on the road, but could they go there and win that game? Sure. I don't really see why not. At South Carolina, toss-up. Kentucky at home, that's a toss-up. Like, there's plenty of them on here that, I think they could definitely get to 7, and you win a couple of those toss-ups, you're at 8, maybe even 9 for Tennessee.
I think you'll learn a lot about
Defense
Tennessee.
has to improve, though.
They have to, and I think they will. Nowhere to go but up for this unit. And I think, to your point, the first half of Tennessee's schedule is going to tell us a lot, because down the road, they'll get Florida and Kentucky both at home, which is huge. But on the road, week 2 at Pittsburgh, like you said, not the same team without Kenny Pickett, but still a team that you lost to last season. Now you had to travel over there. And then week 5 at LSU, always tough to play inside of Tiger Stadium. This is going to be a good defense. If this game was in Knoxville, I could see Tennessee be favored. But with it being in Baton Rouge, depending on where both teams are, I could see that be closer to a pick-em. So the schedule shapes out pretty decent for Tennessee, I think, but we'll learn a lot about them in those first 5 weeks when they travel to Pittsburgh and when they travel to Baton Rouge.
Tennessee could theoretically be 4-0 coming into that matchup in Tiger Stadium. I mean, you'd have to get past Pittsburgh on the road. You'd have to beat Florida at home. I mean, those are 2 hurdles to do. If they could just as easily be 2-2 as they could be 4-0. But I mean, I think I'd honestly lean more towards 3-1 for the Volunteers. And if they come into Baton Rouge 3-1, and you look at LSU, they have a good chance to be off to a nice start in that realm as well. You would have had to gotten past Auburn before that, but you'd like where you are. I mean, you could have a battle of one-loss teams, and that very well could end up fetching a nice primetime slot.
I think Tennessee fans just need to be patient here. If they go 7-5, 8-4 again, I think that's a really good season for them, but they need to put together some form of stability. Like, I remember talking to Scott Kushner from The Advocate sometime last year on OTB. He was saying that Tennessee football has pretty much been in the Curly Hallman era of their own for the last 20 years. Just no consistency. Yeah. And I feel like they've had some good players there in the last 10 years or so, but they just haven't been able to put it together. And their administration, I think, kind of similar to Auburn's administration. They handled the Greg Schiano hiring really poorly. He could have been put in place at Tennessee. And then a lot of sketchiness on the way out with Jeremy Pruitt. But the fact that Heupel was able to have a winning season already with just 69 scholarship guys, you got a good quarterback. I feel like 8-4 for Tennessee would be a really good season. I think that's very reasonable expectation.
It would be. And the most important thing for them, Mario, is they have to keep going up, right? What you just said is very true. To come in with 69 scholarship guys, have a winning season when nobody was counting on you to do really anything, that's a hell of a first step, but you can't take the step back now in year 2 after you've done that and actually improved the roster, improved the culture in the program. You have to keep going up. That's the biggest thing for Tennessee, and I think they do. I'm with you on the over. I think they at least get to 8, and I think there's a chance if the defense improves enough that they could get to 9.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't know if they can get to 9 and contend for the East, but I definitely think they can get to 8 and surpass that win total. And while we're talking about Jeremy Pruitt, that whole situation, I guess we should discuss the news that broke today. And this is coming from Sports Illustrated. Ross Dellinger reporting that former Tennessee football coach Jeremy Pruitt, his wife, and several members of his staff provided about $60,000 of impermissible benefits and recruiting inducements to more than 24 recruits and their families over 3 years. That's according to a notice of allegations from the NCAA. Remember, Tennessee did their own investigation. They fired Pruitt on their own, and they avoided the dreaded lack of institutional control as a penalty. So it looks like they're going to be okay going forward. But Jeremy Pruitt definitely not getting his money.
Is that the time they were putting it in the McDonald's bags?
Supposedly, yes, but we have an update on that. Supposedly, they did buy, according to our guy David Cobb, CBS Sports, he tweeted out that they did buy the McDonald's, which is illegal, can't be buying them meals, but there were only cheeseburgers and fries in those bags, no cash.
Man.
Yep, not
that
as
makes
fun.
it less cool. That was such an awesome twist that they were just handing off thousands of dollars in McDonald's bags.
That would have been awesome.
That'd have been gangster. That'd have been awesome. Yes.
Some racks with your quarter pounders.
Exactly.
Nope.
Exactly.
Only quarter pounders for Jeremy Pruitt. Probably still didn't get the recruits and wasn't able to keep his job. Let's see what Josh Heupel can do in his place. Pretty good start in his first year at 7-5, losing the bowl game to Purdue. So technically they went 7-6, but Tennessee's win total 7.5 coming into 2022, and me and Musa both think that sounds about right for the Vols. So we'll see what they are able to do. We will break. We'll come back, talk a little bit more football here on the early line as we prepare for the weekend here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Early Line with Mario and Musso. 104.5 ESPN. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Kids have staked out their place at Ochsner Medical Complex The Grove, where more than 30 pediatricians and pediatric specialists are all conveniently located under one roof, so you can spend less time driving and more time keeping your kids well. Kids! It's no wonder kids call dibs at The Grove. Ochsner Health Center for Children.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for...
On Mondays, off the bench, we will recap the weekend and everything the sports world has to offer. Plus, we get ready to kick off Saints camp, and we got a brand new edition of your weekend winners. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're getting the early line with Mario and Musso on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here on Early Line, Friday edition, closing out the week with you here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now we have the projected order of finish. Mario, a time-honored tradition that ends SEC football media days before the media leaves on Thursday. They all cast their ballot for order of finish in the West and the East. Winners meeting in the SEC championship game, and then, of course, their vote for SEC champion always comes out on, Friday morning. So we have it here. Georgia, shocker, projected to win the East. 172 first-place votes. Then you had Kentucky.
Makes sense.
To finish second, which that was a big question, though, right? Was who's going to finish second who's going to finish second in really every division, but especially the East. Kentucky had 4 first-place votes. Tennessee was next, who we just talked about the last segment, when they also had 1 first-place vote. Florida was slated to finish 4th. South Carolina 5th, although South Carolina did have 3 first-place votes. Missouri 6th, and Vanderbilt 7th. And somebody, some brave soul, who very obviously woke up yesterday morning choosing violence, feeling dangerous, voted Vanderbilt to win the SEC East. So, congratulations to you, whoever you may be. The SEC West. In an even more shocking development than Georgia, Alabama picked to win the SEC West with 177 first-place votes. Texas A&M next at 2 with 3 first-place votes. The Arkansas Razorbacks would follow at 3. They had a 1 first-place vote. The Ole Miss Rebels at 4. Your Fighting Tigers of LSU at 5. Mississippi State at 6. And the Auburn Tigers, the Fighting Brian Harsons, down there at 7. Immediate reaction.
So the East looks about right to me. I think in the West, I could see maybe Arkansas overtake Texas A&M for second. As a surprise team, maybe Ole Miss if the transfer quarterback works out, or whoever starts there performs well enough to fill in for Corral. The East, though, looks about right, and the first place vote for Vanderbilt is really something. Like, there's no way that person actually put together a coherent argument in their head for Vanderbilt to not only win the East, but topple likely Alabama in the SEC championship game. The other day, I put so much time, so much thought into how they could even just get to 3 wins and hit their total. So whoever did that was a total comedian, but everything else I pretty much agree with. I think Kentucky can take a step forward, build off of what they did last year, but I would not be surprised if another team came in and overtook them, won second place. But as of now, East looks about right. West, I would maybe put Arkansas or Ole Miss ahead of Texas A&M.
I think the battle between Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, and South Carolina to win second place in the Eastern Division is just razor thin. I like that margin is so tiny because it's strange. You could say the same for the West too. Really, when you look at A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss, LSU, you could make a case for any of those 4 teams to finish second in the West. You could make a case for any of the 4 teams we named in the East to finish second in that division. It just speaks to the fact that, man, you have your winner, Georgia. You have your winner, Alabama. Doesn't it feel like everybody, maybe someone goes 5-3, and that's what the separating, but doesn't it feel like everybody else is probably going to be like 4-4? It just feels very bunched up. And I'm surprised to see South Carolina at 5. I'm surprised, but I'm not. The schedule's why I'm not. But it does just feel like they made so many strides this year in the offseason to improve that team, and they overachieved so much last year. The schedule's just so brutal, which I understand why you have them down there at 5, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if South Carolina finishes ahead of Florida or finishes ahead of a Tennessee potentially. And again, it wouldn't surprise me. It's just so razor thin, the margin for error there. It wouldn't surprise me if any of those 4 teams, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, or South Carolina, were able to finish second.
I would think they're going to cannibalize each other a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you said, beat each other up. And in the East, you definitely have your cellar dwellers, I think. Vanderbilt's for sure down there. Missouri, arguably down there. And Florida, first year, Billy Napier, I don't think the expectations are super high. So you see a little bit more tiers there, although they'll still will cannibalize themselves. In the West, I think it's a little harder to pick a last place team. If I had to pick one, I would pick Auburn like the media did, but I could see it be Auburn. I could see it be Mississippi State. Unfortunately, I could see it be LSU. And that's in a scenario where LSU doesn't maybe have a disastrous season, but 7-5 might get you last place this year. So I think the West is kind of better from top to bottom, but there is a lot more parity. And like you said, I think they'll kind of beat each other up there in the standings, at least the teams not named Georgia and Alabama.
Arkansas is intriguing, right? Because in kind of the same boat as South Carolina, Arkansas' schedule just sucks. Like it is unenviable to say the least. But you heard a lot of hype around Arkansas, and you heard a lot of people say they could finish second in the West. So I think even to see them there at 3 speaks to what they've done to rebuild that team. It speaks to being able to retain Kendall Briles and Barry Odom as your coordinators and returning your quarterback and having enough faith that, yeah, even with that schedule, we think they're the 3rd best team in the West, and you can make a case for them, even with that schedule, to finish second.
100%. And Arkansas right out the gate, their schedule is interesting because they got Cincinnati. Cincinnati in the playoff last year, they lost a lot, including their quarterback. And at the moment, Arkansas is a 7-point favorite. Then after that, they host South Carolina in week 2. Missouri State week 3, which should be a win, and then they play A&M in that neutral site game. They beat A&M last year, and I remember thinking how funny it was if you compare the salaries of Sam Pittman and Jimbo Fisher, the fact that Sam Pittman got the better of them there. And now Arkansas has a momentum coming into this matchup. If they win that one, they're 4-0, and they're welcoming Alabama into Fayetteville. And when you talk about the potential upset for Arkansas over Alabama, let's remember the last year in Tuscaloosa, they almost had them. They covered the spread, I believe, and they lost that game by 7 points. But Arkansas could have a lot of momentum going into that game, and maybe they don't win it, but that could be a really good measuring stick. Then you're 4-1 the rest of the year. If you get through those non-conference games against BYU, against Liberty, Arkansas can definitely be right there.
I could see like a 3-way tie for second at the end of the year in the West, and everybody might be like 4-4. Like that would not surprise me in the least. I think LSU is placed properly. I will say that because I do think LSU ends up 4-4, and if you don't have that, tie, the 3-way tie or whatever, 4-4 is probably going to land you 5th or 4th in the West. So I think that's a great landing spot for LSU, a properly predicted landing spot for LSU, at least with what we know here on July the 22nd. But we talk about cannibalizing each other in the East. It's going to happen more in the West. It might there's not a tougher division in football, and at least college football, and it could be its own conference. Looking at it, it could, and that's saying this year it feels even tougher than normal.
Yeah, like I said, some teams have kind of gotten themselves out the dead here. Like Arkansas, remember how bad they were under Chad Morris, and Mike Leach has made Mississippi State maybe respectable. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they'll plateau. They won't get much better, but every year, they'll be around 7-5. They'll win some screwy games. They'll probably lose some games they're supposed to win, but the whole conference, the West and East, has gotten a little bit better. And you still have your tiers, but I think especially from a betting standpoint, Musso, it could be really interesting because you could have some really good value on some underdogs, at least early on in the season, and you can win more money that way. So a lot more parity in the SEC will be exciting, and it could be a good thing if you know what you're doing on these bets.
So, and then obviously we told you there at the top, Georgia wins the East according to the media. Alabama wins the West, and the media voted Alabama to be the SEC football champion. Gross.
Yeah, that was to be expected for sure. And I know Alabama has some tough away games this year. They got to travel to Ole Miss. They got to travel to LSU, amongst other places. But just the experience of Bryce Young coming back for another year, Will Anderson being on the football field, they're going to win the SEC West. There's no way somebody overtakes them.
Yeah, I think they're going to win the whole thing. I think Alabama has a great chance to run the table in the regular season. They might slip up here or there. Might get caught, but it's just the veteran leadership that they have on both sides of the ball with Will Anderson, with Bryce Young. To have the best, I really don't want to have this conversation, but to have the best player at their position in the country on each side of the ball is just a rare occurrence. Alabama has that this year, and they're both veteran guys who have been there. So and they're hungry. They're hungry.
I think the O-line is a factor. I still think they're going to get there, but that's definitely the clear weakness of their team. They gave up 7 sacks against Auburn. They had 6 rushing yards in total against LSU. And like I said, maybe oversimplifying things a little bit, but their starting left tackle is a transfer from Vanderbilt. And they have a lot of respect for Steen, but just based on the recruiting class, based on what Alabama usually has been along the offensive line, that's definitely an alarming statement right there, that they're starting a transfer from Vanderbilt. So that is the path to beat Alabama, but I do agree with you that having Anderson, having Bryce Young probably would make you give them the benefit of the doubt. Now it's football, injuries happen, and if you're a top-heavy team like that, something happens to one of those guys, and it's a completely different conversation.
All right, so there you go. That is your look at the predicted order of finish from the media post Southeastern Conference Media Days. Georgia, Bama take their divisions. Bama takes the SEC crown. See how it plays out. Again, LSU opens camp 13 days from today. We'll grab our final break, come back, close out the week on Early Line, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
The Early Line, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge. This week on DropBiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out NewOrleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
My own people call me an Uncle Tom. I play music. Been wined and dined by royalty. Trying to bring people together. All people. But regardless of all that kind of stuff, I'm still Louis Armstrong.
Here's the man you're waiting for, the king of jazz, Louis Satchmo Armstrong.
Visit Acura of Baton Rouge for attractive offers on the MDX.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
It's Musso. Join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Matt returns from SEC Football Media Days to put a button on the week, the Riot Radio Hours, and more. Friday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Early Line with Mario and Musso. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up the show, wrapping up the week here on the Early Line. Shout out to everybody for all the interaction, especially in the Bayou Ford chat. Fun week during SEC Football Media Days, as it always is. Speaking of, today's Citizens Bank poll of the day, and the question posed to the audience was, what was the dumbest comment made at SEC Football Media Days? And two candidates that came to mind, at least for me, was Jimbo Fisher's comments on his feud with Nick Saban, saying that it's unfortunate that this went public. You know, it's really hard to keep things private these days, after he called the public press conference to address that. Yeah. The other candidate was Clark Lee, saying that the Vanderbilt football program will one day be one of the best, one day be the best program in America. I thought that was a dumb comment just because it's Vanderbilt, and I don't think that's very feasible. And other was the other option for the audience. 81% says Clark Lee had the dumber comment. Only 18% says that Jimbo had the dumber comment. Look, I like the optimism for Clark Lee. I know he's supposed to say that, but come on, man. You're in the SEC. You're trying to get to 3 wins this season. Looking like the best football team in the country seems to be very, very far away.
Yeah, I don't even really know if he's supposed to say that, Mario. I'll even push back on that. Not really anywhere. I mean, I guess maybe in the confines of the locker room. Yeah. That's twice, actually. It's 2 years in a row that Clark Lee has had the, if you're going to give it a superlative for most laugh out loud moment of SEC Football Media Days, because last year, you might remember, Clark Lee said that Vanderbilt was the best job in the country. And now he says in time, they will be the best football program in the country. I look forward to next year when Clark Lee just declares that Vanderbilt's going to win a national championship in 2023.
Oh, man, they had a little bit of success.
Kind of the only place you can go from here, right?
Exactly. Like, they had a little bit of success under James Franklin, but that seems like really long ago, and even that wasn't even close to the top of the SEC, much less the country.
And the Jimbo thing is just another – the Jimbo thing is funny because it's just another egg on Jimbo's face moment where it's unfortunate he went public. Well, you're the reason it went public. Like, you yourself called the press conference and then encouraged the media to go dig into Saban's past. You were just relentless in your attack on him, honestly. Said you were through with him, then called him your brother yesterday. Jimbo had a lot when it came to that. Just a lot. He really just needs to not talk anymore on this topic. I mean, it should just be a plead the fifth, no comment. We're done with that. Moving on should be your answer. Don't even try to explain it because every time he does, he digs deeper.
Yeah, he did not look very good this week. And this year, he's got some, I think he's got some pressure on him for sure. I'm not going to say he's on the hot seat, but he's definitely got some pressure on him. And I don't know what he was thinking with that answer. He should have just been like, yeah, it was addressed. We both said some things. It was unfortunate. Now we're both ready to coach some football again. So I think Jimbo didn't look good, but I am in agreement with the audience and Clark Lee having the dumbest comment at SEC football media days. With about 3 minutes left in the show, Musso, let's talk a little bit of NFL because we're going to be NFL heavy next week. Training camp starts across the NFL for every team next week, and the Saints will report on Wednesday. Unfortunately, when they do report, Marcus Davenport, the defensive lineman, and Michael Thomas, the wide receiver, will both be on the physically unable to perform list. And Davenport's not a surprise. He's been injured most of his Saints career, unfortunately, and he's had a tough offseason with the injuries, the shoulder surgery, and the amputated pinky. But I feel like Michael Thomas should be on the field by now. And I'm no doctor, but this is a injury that happened a long time ago. He had the surgery over a year ago now. There has not been a second surgery. And I know that all the reports have been really optimistic. He looks like he's optimistic. He's out there posting videos, running routes, but I am officially worried, Musso. I've been very patient up until this point, and maybe they'll activate him. A lot of people seem to think that he will be activated soon, but until he does, I'm a little worried, and I'm not sure when we're going to see Michael Thomas.
You'll see him in camp. I mean, that's when you'll see him. He's close. He will be activated shortly, I do believe, because of what you just said. He's posting videos of himself working out at full speed. Maybe he's just not quite ready to be hit yet. Maybe they don't want to test it there yet.
He has to be, though. He's got to play tackle football in less than 50 days, not being on the field.
He will be ready. You will see him in camp. Ease your tension, Mario.
Nah, man.
You're going to see him in camp.
It's frustrating.
He is close. He would not be going full speed and posting videos. They would not be letting him going full speed and posting videos if he were not almost there.
He's clearly not worried about what the team lets him and doesn't let him do. This is how we got into this whole situation in the first place.
But we're far from that situation.
We will see. They do report next week, and that's going to be one of the big things that people are looking for. But a few other things that I'll be looking forward to is, number one, just curious to see how good Jameis Winston is moving around. He's had the brace. He's coming off the ACL injury, and he should be okay health-wise, but it'll still be good to see him out there doing team drills, leading the offense, and getting ready to start another season. I'm also very curious to see Trevor Penning in person. I heard he's very huge, especially in the pads, and he will obviously play a huge role this year as a rookie. So those are some things that I'm looking forward to. What are you pumped up for when it comes to the Saints and training camp?
Receiver. I'd love to see the receivers outside of Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and Jarvis Landry kind of in action. How much has that relationship grown with Jameis Winston? Obviously, they've been working together, and running back as well. I mean, we know AK, but in the event that he is suspended at some point during the season, who's behind him?
That's definitely a big question. Maybe we'll start answering some of those questions next week when the Saints report. Also, get ready for the college football season as well. Start talking a lot more football here on the early line. As for now, stay tuned for After Further Review and Matt Moscona coming up next. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.